news reporter. Alright, welcome back. It's been a while. I think it's been like 2 months since I have the last Ask the Barista series. Alright, without further ado, let's answer some questions. Can I grind the coffee and store it so I can brew throughout the day? This question by Mala, our barista student. Yes, of course you can, but it's a matter of whether is it nice or is it not nice. You can, it's non-poisonous if you want to, but of course at the cafe or commercial environment, it's more ideal to grind and then to brew consequently. But instead of, we don't use pre-ground coffee because it will stale quickly in compared to grind then brew. So we have next question. Does water pH affect the coffee taste? Also by Malar. Yes, it does, but according to SCA, we are more focused on water alkalinity and hardness of water rather than pH. So like for example, hard water will build scale and then alkaline water will have lesser extraction of the flavors and characteristics of the coffee, I would say. But pH does, but we don't adjust based on pH. We adjust based on the hardness of water and alkalinity of water. How to make cold brew? How to store it? How long can it last? By Rizwan. Well, there are a lot of YouTube videos that you can refer to rather than how I explain it in words and text. Cold brew, relatively, it means you have to brew with, instead of hot water, you're using cold water because it's cold brew. So there are two types of cold brews. One is cold drip, another one is immersive cold brew. That means you cold steep in a long period of time, like 8 hours in the chiller. And then another one is cold drip. That means you have ice cubes and ice water drip down into the coffee ground. So there are two types of cold brews in the market. How long you can store it? It depends on what is your technology. The traditional technology, you cannot store more than 7 days. But we have tried. Baby Hard Tank, they can store more than a month. So Baby Hard Tank is another brand of big scale commercial environment cold brew machine. Arabica is common, but what happens if use Robusta? How's the taste going to be like? I assume ideal. The question is by ideal. I assume ideal is referring if, let's say, if cafes or if we use Robusta coffee beans to make like espresso brew methods such as latte or cappuccino. Yes, you can, because most of people have this mistake that we make a very inferior impression towards Robusta, which is wrong. There are good Robusta, there are fine Robusta, there are commercial Robusta, the low-grade Robusta. So does Arabica coffee beans. But the demand is not there yet for us to make a high-quality Robusta coffee. So that's why Robusta coffee, for the mostly with demand in kopitiam or instant coffee or large-scale commercial production of coffee. The taste will be much more bolder, much more body, more intense in compared to Arabica, which is more vibrant, more colorful, more brightness, less intense if you compare Robusta and Arabica. So that's why Arabica is more welcome in a specialty coffee environment. If I don't have espresso machine, I want espresso-based drink. What is the alternative machines and methods? Well, you can consider buy some manual espresso makers such as Wakako Pico Presso or Flair espresso maker. Or you can just buy something like, it's a pre-brewed espresso in the bottle. So they sold to you in cold, so you can just bring it out from your chiller and then pour into your cold milk or pour into your hot water or cold water as Americano. That works as well. Is there a foolproof guide choosing coffee beans for beginners? I assume, okay, this question is by Nikki. I assume she's referring to roasted coffee beans. I don't think there is foolproof guide by far because sometimes I still buy some beans that I thought is nice, actually it's not that nice. So I still learn from experience and buying the wrong things in order to choose the right ones. My advice for you, Nikki, is to try more roasters. Don't just stick with one. Rotate your roasters so you know how good or which one that you prefer in future. Next question. Does filter coffee has higher caffeine in compared to espresso method? By Nikki again. Yes, it does. First of all, we usually would brew filter coffee such as Hario V60 in a lighter roast manner. If let's say lighter roast, that means you roast less. You roast less, that means more caffeine content in the coffee beans. In compare espresso, usually I would assume regularly we would use a medium roast or medium dark roast or even dark roast. More developed or more roasted of the coffee beans, the less caffeine content of the coffee. So someone who thought that dark roast has higher caffeine actually is a wrong impression. Darker it roasts, more brittle, that means it's less caffeine. The next question by Nikki. To produce a good cup coffee, what milk should I use? There's no best milk, it's more like your own preference. Personally, I drink pasteurized fresh milk. I do not drink, not a fan of alternative milk. I'm not a fan of UHT milk. I'm not a fan of pasteurized milk. Now, if you ask me to choose one, I would choose a fresh pasteurized milk where the sweetness and smoothness are the best so far. Not a milk person, by the way. How to pull a good shot from a mocha pot by Elton. The last time that I did a mocha pot coffee, probably like 13 years ago, it was a different world. So maybe I'll refer you to other YouTube channel to try on mocha pot. I'm not really a fan of mocha pot because it gives a very gritty and murky kind of texture, but everyone has their own preference. Next question. What is the difference between Barista milk and versus pasteurized milk by Elton? So I'm assuming Elton saw our Barista milk by F&N, which is a Magnolia F&N Barista milk. It's the same as the yellow carton in the supermarket. And it is a pasteurized milk, so there's no difference between Barista milk, Magnolia, and versus the hypermarket or supermarkets Magnolia yellow packaging pasteurized milk. It's the same, it's just different channel. Different sales channel they distribute to. Next question, what is the taste of Kopi Luwak? I'm not a fan of Kopi Luwak. Previous episode I've mentioned about this. I'm not a fan of Kopi Luwak. I've tried it in Bali out of curiosity. It's not great. It doesn't taste good. It doesn't taste nice to me. Maybe just because of the farm, and I don't buy Kopi Luwak because of the fancy civet cat poops. It doesn't help any process. It doesn't improve coffee flavor. So, next question. What is the difference between espresso and kopitiam coffee? By Rizwan. Espresso, of course, you need to have an espresso machine to produce the 9 bar pressure to produce the coffee liquid. Where the kopitiam, which is our traditional Malaysia's coffee, which go through, usually use a pre-ground coffee, Robusta coffee, and dark roast, and then they put into a cloth filter and pour in hot water. The difference is, one is, it's different method, it's different brew method, the taste is different, the preference is different. I like both of them. It's just that it happens to, over here we only have an espresso machine, but given a choice, if I go out, travel, other states, I don't have machine to bring up with me. I still drink kopi so long there's no sugar added, there's no milk added, I'm okay with it. How do I check if coffee is cappuccino or flat white? By Elton. Cappuccino means it's thicker, froth or foam. It's traditionally, it will be 1/3 of the cup size, 1/3 of the cup size. The flat white will be a very thin layer, probably give or take is less than 1 cm of thickness of foam. Yeah, so cappuccino has more strength and flat white has more milk. More milk means less strength. And what is Lungo by Elton? Lungo is a brew ratio 1:3, which means 1 part of coffee ground, 3 parts of water. So traditionally, we would use such a long brew ratio with light roasted coffee. So the grind size is coarser, the flavor out is different, it's more watery and dilute. but it takes out more characteristic and it extract out more flavors from the light roasted coffee. Of course, you can use a medium roast, medium light roast, or medium dark roast to do so if you use the right grind size and right temperature. Alright, next question. If I do not have an espresso machine, how do I mimic milk steaming? Buy coffee from outside. That's my straight to the point question. Can I mimic milk steaming on an Nespresso machine by Rizwan again? I'm not familiar with Nespresso machine. Where is their technology right now? I do not know familiar of what kind of coffee machine do they have currently, so I can't really answer that question. The next question will be, how do I store pre-ground coffee? So this one from Mala. You can store a pre-ground coffee in an airtight container. If let's say there's a clip system in that container, that would be ideal. Just remember, pre-ground coffee will stale very quick in compared to whole beans. So I would suggest to use an airtight container with clip system if you can, or vacuum system if you can. Alright, thanks for watching. See you guys next time. I hope that this video content, you guys will learn something from this.